Fraud. Why is fraud deemed tough to prove? The answer is because of the dishonesty finding that needs to be made in most cases. In order for there to be an allegation of fraud that is sustainable, a key element will be dishonesty. Looking into the motivations behind the action that led to the fraudulent misrepresentation, the fraudulent deception, the fraudulent transaction, the fraudulent trading, whatever it is. Intent on the party who's engaging in the transaction is key, usually in a fraud case. And as a result, to meet the hurdle, bearing in mind that judges, juries, people in general do not like to make findings of dishonesty and deception in respect of other people unless the evidence is pretty good. Now, there will be instances in which the evidence is pretty good, okay, but it won't usually be good enough to turn around and say, because of X, Y, and Z, it's obvious that this was fraud. That is, you cannot turn around in front of a judge or a jury, really, and say, well, it's obvious, Well, it may be obvious to most people, but that doesn't mean that the finding is going to be made. There has to be something typically more. You're going to have some pretty good evidence. Now, one thing that's notable about many fraudsters, whilst there are some reckless people who do put down in black and white in messages, emails and so on as to why they're doing what they're doing and give the game away, many people are a little bit more sophisticated and less keen to put their nefarious dealings and the motivations for their nefarious dealings down in black and white in emails and messages. So the paper trail may be a bit more of a struggle. And the fraudulent findings are going to rely potentially on things like other evidence combined together, looking for what is essentially incredible, or potentially something that's extracted from cross-examination. And that is potentially going to make it much more difficult. It's also worth bearing in mind that the barrister that's making the case on behalf of the applicant, the Crown Prosecution Service, or the claimant is going to have to allege fraud, is going to have a specific instruction to allege fraud, and is going to have to be satisfied that the evidence is good enough to make a fraud case. Otherwise, that barrister is going to be extremely reluctant and really shouldn't, without risking being a breach of their professional body's regulations, in terms of what the requirements are before they can actively plead fraud. Questions, queries, concerns, give us a shout. Winner Insolvency, Inside Out.